There it is. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's be happy today. Happy January. Live from an eerily quiet Target newsroom.
Yeah.
It's an all-new, terrific Tuesday edition of Business Pants, joined by analyst Matt Moscardi. On today's terrific Tuesday that smells like government-mandated ESG.
Oh.
Called January 13th, 2026, The Good Game.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I don't know if I'm
we
in the
need
right
this.
headspace.
No, we need this.
We do need it.
In fact, I fast-tracked this because you especially need it. Our show today is being sponsored by Free Flow Analytics and freeflowanalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free.
I love them. I really do.
I'm hearing a lot of frustration from some of our coders are complaining a lot this week about some new code for the platform.
Yeah, well, let's say that if you use AI for anything, it's not
really.
good to use it for anything. Like I've been trying to use ChatGPT and Gemini so that you want to stay on top of the trends. You want to know what everybody's talking about. So I use it for like simple tasks, mostly code, but also can you figure out, here's a document, do you summarize it? And then I'll go and I'll read the document and see how it did. Talking to ChatGPT and Gemini is like talking to two of the worst employees you could ever hire for anything ever. ChatGPT is like
the worst.
Writes a dissertation for every single answer, and it's always wrong. And Gemini doesn't tell you anything; it just gives you a quick, succinct answer and makes its own version up. It's really special where humanity is headed with AI. I'm very excited.
I tried to get you to use Perplexity, but you're dissing Perplexity. You don't
it's just another thing. I can't.
You like big
some
companies
things
that you can complain about.
Yeah, that's easier. I like that.
Speaking of which, let's start with before we get to the good game. Let's start with some maybe bad news. I'm not sure. I'll let you play a little game.
Is this like a pure speed round, good or bad?
No, this is, I don't know. I'll let you decide. This is how I spent my morning. I looked at 14. I actually did use AI to help me find 14 Fortune 500 companies headquartered basically in Minneapolis, but just in the state of Minnesota. This is based on a quip you made this morning, wondering where the responses were to the horrific shooting of a young woman in Minneapolis by ICE. She was like murdered in her car, and there's been a lot of talk about how this is like a modern George Floyd moment. Modern, yeah. I mean, it was only a few years ago, right? There in my city, probably in your city too, probably in a lot of the blue cities, there were some pretty large protests going on Saturday.
Yeah, there were. I saw them. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I decided, what is the current state of the for the 2026 Fortune 500 investor relations team? The what kind of press releases are they putting out? What's their statement about this shooting of one of their constituents, customers in Minneapolis? Now, I'm not saying that I didn't look at the entire Fortune 500, because despite the fact that the protests are countrywide, this is a story that is really particular to Minneapolis. What Minneapolis is going through right now is stressful at the least, right? So that's why I decided to focus on these 14 companies. Believe it or not, there are 14. That's a lot more than I expected.
But wait a minute.
Go
ahead. George Floyd, you could argue, was not an international thing, right? It was police killing a black man, right?
It became national quickly, just like the ICE story.
Basically an American Gestapo killing a white woman. You would expect Jamie Dimon to be kneeling outside of some JP Morgan branch now, right? Like, isn't there supposed to be some sort of, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? That's what we did.
Think, I mean, I am not one of these people who, I don't spend a lot of time I don't watch the videos of a lot of these things, but based on the reporting I've heard, yes, I would agree. This is
I'm just saying, if you're going to do it over there,
murder.
You do it over here. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying corporate consistency.
So there are some interesting companies in Minneapolis, including Target, U.S. Bancorp, 3M, Best Buy, Xcel Energy, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. I don't know why so many, but so here's the game I created for you. I looked at all 14 newsrooms from these companies. I looked at investor relations. I looked at media statements. I looked at everything. I made sure I clicked through at least 5 different parts of their websites, both the investor relations sides and the customer facing sides, to gather the statement. And let me start with the easy question. Out of the 14 companies, how many had statements about this?
Well, so when
now
I
remember,
quit,
this is. I'm saying that this is very specific to the grieving community of Minneapolis. So
right.
I'm sticking with Minnesota here.
This is the highest probability group of people that might
I'm
say
not
or
going
do
to
something.
companies in Boston. I'm not going to companies in Texas. I just went to the. So what do you think?
I think 0. I think 0 is the number.
Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. How many? Yeah, go ahead.
When I said in like pre-production like that, I was looking for Target, particularly Brian Cornell, who of Target, who's now their executive chair, pretended to step down from the CEO role, but is CEO on the board, so he goes to less meetings and makes as much money. I specifically looked for his comments because he said a lot of stuff after George Floyd. Yes. He said reams of stuff. And launched all these things, internally to Target, like all sorts of stuff. So I looked for him first, and so far, I've seen 0 words.
Well, here's why I started with Target, because at a minimum, I would have expected, because the story affects so many of their employees, right, and customers. So not only are they dealing with all this going on with ICE, they're dealing with a U.S. executive branch and government that is, they are reducing like child care funds to their state, right? They're accusing them of fraud. The point being that this is really negatively affecting Target stakeholders. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, their employee, like their
customers, employees,
their corporate employee base,
yes,
and a bunch of their customers are directly affected by all the things happening.
All of this.
Yes.
Okay, so correct. Unfortunately, you're right about that. So let me ask you one more question before we move on to the good game. Out of these 14 companies, how many mentioned at all some of the politics going on out of our executive branch?
Does that count branches? Like in their 8K or 10K they said
no,
like,
this is press releases, news releases.
Oh, this is just a straight release. I'm going to say
statements.
0 again.
Okay, good. I got you on this one. Ameriprise Financial actually had a blog article up as of yesterday called "Is Corporate America Up for Its First Big Test?" And what it said was, it says that geopolitical and Washington headlines have increased risk from developments in Venezuela to broader policy noise.
Oh. Is the ICE policy noise? That's
so this is as close. And there are some other financial. There are some other. There's U.S. Bancorp's on this list. United Health Group, Thrivent Financial. I mean, there are some other companies that had an opportunity to kind of weigh in on this. This is as close as we get.
I mean, I can't even believe there's not a press release that just says the murder of anyone in our community by a federal agent, or the shooting of anyone. They don't even have to say murder. The shooting of anyone by a federal officer in our community is cause for concern. Our hearts and prayers go out to the family involved. And we're looking to, promote unity in Minnesota and beyond. Like, it's not like you have to say anything super deep here. You don't like, but we did have pictures of Jamie Dimon kneeling at a Chase branch after George Floyd.
It wasn't just Jamie involved with all that. It wasn't just
I'm
Jamie.
Just saying,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
These executives were incredibly performative when it was politically expedient to be incredibly performative. And the minute that they think, oh, well, maybe I could get on some Venezuela oil and maybe I can get some more deregulation. Or I don't want Trump to, I don't want angry grandpa to orange grandpa to focus on me and my company at all. So I'm just going to stay totally quiet. Isn't it over? Like there is no more. I honestly preferred the performative thing because it at least meant that there was some sort of human adjacent response.
When your stakeholders were stressed and going through things collectively, they would at least respond like human beings.
We're now literally at a point where everyone's so terrified to say anything or do anything. It's total capture.
Okay, then good. Let's roll right into the good game with this first story. Then, are you ready? Because we got to lighten up a little bit here.
Are we going to?
Here's the headline: the oil CEO who stood up to Trump is a follower of the disciplined Exxon way with a history of blunt statements. So they're talking about ExxonMobil CEO Darren Woods. So Trump gathered all the big oil executives this week because they're trying to figure out how to get rich off of taking over the government in Venezuela. And Darren Woods pushed back, basically saying that it's basically uninvestable at the moment. Trump got angry immediately, according to reports, and called Exxon too cute and said that we're going to exclude you from making a lot of money out of Venezuela. And the idea here simply is this, that Darren Woods is supporting his shareholders over the stakeholders. So I don't know if your head is spinning here. Where do you land on this one? This is Darren Woods is, other than Costco, is he only the second CEO that has stood and again, these aren't public meetings. We don't have the minutes from these meetings. Do we know if he actually stood up to him? We don't really know what really happened here. Maybe what he's saying is just a very shrewd.
How is this not a public meeting? It's the president of the United States taking a meeting.
How is it not publicly traded company? So wait, where do you fall on this one?
Company.
Are you suddenly pro Darren Woods or what? Where do you land on this one?
If I I spent years making fun of Larry Fink. And if I now have to defend Darren Woods, who sued a shareholder he didn't like, I don't know what has happened.
Except that he famously doesn't care about stakeholders when it comes to the possibility that the reality that his company is causing climate change. Right? Those stakeholders doesn't care about.
We're not talking about that.
We're not talking about that. Okay, let's talk about.
But here's what I actually think about the shareholders. Yeah. There's no 8K filed yet saying Darren Woods believes Venezuela is uninvestable. Isn't that something that, you met with the president? The president singled you and your company out as not having access to someone he decided to take over, and for a brief period on his Wikipedia page named himself acting president of Venezuela.
Right.
You feel like you'd have an 8K on that, right? I feel like there should be some sort of SEC filing.
There's some history here because let's not forget that Rex Tillerson, the former CEO of Exxon, joined Trump's first administration, had a falling out with Trump, and basically ended up referring to Trump as a big idiot.
As a moron.
Because something we all know. So there's an interesting history here with Exxon. But the thing I don't buy is this. How do we know that shareholders would be pissed if Exxon went into Chevron? Just because, how do we know this?
Into Venezuela, you mean?
Into Venezuela. How do we know that this is protecting shareholders by that's the way it's being spun, is that he's standing up to Trump because he believes in his shareholders, but that anyone is standing up to Trump at all is a bit of a miracle. Yeah.
Every one of the executives in that room should have been doing some sort of geopolitical calculus and saying that there's inevitably going to be massive instability in Venezuela for at least the foreseeable future. Also, unless Trump fully negates, he's 80% of the way there, but unless he fully negates the Constitution and all laws in the United States of America, don't they recognize that we might be 8 months away from an entirely new congressional,
and 3 years away from a new president, right? Of course.
And if that is the case, if everything were to flip,
it typically is in this country,
right? If it were to flip,
yeah.
If you are if you like are Exxon and you go into Venezuela and immediately they're like, we absolutely are not going to be in Venezuela. We are not protecting you. It's
and let's
not your
forget,
oil, it's theirs. They would have spent billions of dollars between now and then only to literally lose it all again. That's a pretty shrewd calculus.
And you're giving the very kind perspective of that, because there's a different part of this, which the different reality here is that this is known to be absolutely the most disgusting, dirty crude oil on the globe. It is really difficult to work with. It is really gross. And it's not like they probably would have been there. They would have already taken over the oil if they thought this was easy oil to deal with.
I am not giving Darren Woods credit.
Give me a score.
I'm giving it a 0. I'm not
really what?
I'm not giving him. He didn't stand up to Trump. He stood up for money, and that is the ultimate problem.
But we've been shouting at CEOs to stand. But there have been countless opportunities for CEOs this year to stand up for money, including things like how easily they all turn their back on DEI, when Costco's making a business case for DEI.
You know, here, and that actually is great like juxtaposition. Because what it suggests is if you are brown or have female genitals or are LGBTQ, you like anybody, you fall in love with somebody who's not just heteronormative in some way, there's no money in you. They don't view you as actually having any power. They view the money like Venezuelan oil, and he does a monetary cost-benefit analysis. Like, I'm sure they did it at the minute they were prepped. They've
already done it.
They were prepped before Venezuela was invaded because Trump told them.
Because the CEOs were warned.
They were warned
before Congress. They were told.
In which case, Darren Woods has a team working around the clock. They know exactly what's there. They know what assets are there. They know what the oil looks like. And they say, you know what? It's not really actually worth it anymore. We are generating high cash flow over here. We don't need to worry about it over there. I mean, this is a massive investment. We don't know if it's going to pay off.
You're probably
the risk is too high.
It's probably the same reason why someone like Tim Cook, kissed Trump's ring, because it was just, again, it was a money decision, right?
But the juxtaposition with DEI is perfect because you do the same calculus with that. You look at that and you say, what happens if we alienate every brown person in this country? The cost-benefit analysis of doing that, these CEOs are making, and I'm not saying this is the correct cost-benefit analysis, but the CEOs are sitting down saying, what happens if we cut all our DEI programs? Oh, nothing. Like literally no, like people, like the people are outraged. The people have no power over, like we have so much money, the people have no power. If we go into Venezuela, we lose money. That actually puts in stark contrast exactly why I hate this all, right? Because Darren Woods looks like he's standing up to Trump, but he's doing the same thing every one of them is doing. Well, which is the cost benefit analysis that is inhuman.
Yeah. No,
zero.
I thought we'd get higher than a 0. Let's move on. Microsoft pledges to pay more for electricity, drawing praise from Trump. This is reporting out of the New York Times. So now big data is basically saying, and Microsoft is kind of leading the charge here, that we're going to ask utilities and public commissions to set our rates high enough to cover the electricity costs for our data centers. Now, this is a fine statement and a great pledge, and it's nice to have approval from the president. And it sounds good, but who knows where this will really end up.
Instead of using less electricity, they actually just said we'll pay slightly more for it.
Yeah,
the problem is they're using too much.
They're asking. They're asking for the utilities to set their rates high. This is where I already get like warning signs go off when CEOs are dictating policy, right, and saying, because really there is a bit of a kind of a murmur of a political kind of upswell coming against some of the big data companies. Some people from the left and right are getting pissed about these data centers, and so maybe they're trying to maybe they're trying to ebb the tide a little early here. I don't know. The
problem isn't that that they're paying too little for electricity. The problem is they're using so fucking much electricity that we're burning through oil and gas and coal again. 2025 is the worst, already the worst year in U.S. history for usage. It jumped because we used coal again.
I mean, isn't this why we're trying to take over Greenland? I'm sure for more like
burn some shit there.
Some more stuff to burn. Yeah, and let's not forget that Sam Altman kind of famously said this past year that at a certain point, AI is gonna represent over like 90% of all electricity usage. I think he said 99%. So anyway, what do you think? Good? I know we're playing this game wrong, but I'm trying to pick the stories that people might see as good. I mean, I think people might see this. Some people might see this. A New York Times reader might say good for Microsoft.
I see it as effectively a bribe. I see it like you're bribing a local community.
There's a lot of bribes actually going on this year in the Trump. A lot of companies making these like kind of pseudo deals with Trump.
It's real. It's like
to reduce tariffs, to get.
We look at India and we say, "Oh my God, that whole economy is built on greasing the wheel through bribery," and we are that economy right now. I don't like it at all. I'm giving it a 1. I'll give it a that's +1 because I want you to feel like something about it is good.
U.S. judge allows Ørsted, this is the Danish company, I believe, Ørsted, to resume $5 billion Rhode Island offshore wind project halted by Trump.
Now, finally. Okay. Do you realize? That's good. Finally. They were almost
I believe it. I can't believe this took so long. Do you realize that the Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, said that one of the reasons why they had to scrap this project was they were worried about national security because of radar interference risks.
No, that's
from a wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island. Can you believe that anybody bought this? But can you believe it that this ban lasted even this long based on that radar interference risks? You got to be kidding me. What is this for the German U-boats coming into like Block Island or something? What are we doing here?
It's I just love that. Look, Rhode Island. I'm in Connecticut. The Rhode Island, and I was born in Rhode Island. They've been working on this for like a decade, and then Trump gets elected and decides to scrap it like 9 minutes into his term for make-believe reasons. And Ørsted stock craters. The big. This is just like they. This is just fucking doing what we said we were going to do and we're contracted to do and that 2 states wanted to do. Get the hell out. So
it's
I'm going to give it a 10, finally.
But doesn't it
finally something?
But this whole like year of ESG, like government like mandated ESG, it just makes your head spin, right? Because all of it is like the personal whims of the president. Like he hates one thing, he likes one thing, he hates one thing, he just makes these decisions, he makes these orders. It's insane. Okay, let's keep going. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Trump headlines this week. It's been a really Trumpy week. I think he's been emboldened by
it's because
taking over Venezuela.
The best thing about all of this is no one's talking about Epstein. Not a single word about the fact that they haven't released Epstein.
As the Congress is trying to hold, of all people, Bill Clinton contempt of court for not showing up to testify about the Epstein files.
I don't know where I live anymore. It's absolute lunacy.
All right. So this is the big one from the corporate governance perspective. I mean, this is where the joke government mandated ESG comes from. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Trump tries to reduce CEO pay and halt billions in stock buybacks at defense contractors. So in a nutshell, he's pissed at some of the defense companies for what he says is, not delivering on projects in a way that he deems fit, right? Like, I don't even know how one would determine how to figure out, because I'm sure there are lots of projects in the corporate world that don't come in on time and don't meet certain standards, and still, they negotiate through these things. But Trump is pissed specifically at anything to do with government contracts. So again, he's a very pro-stakeholder president, I guess. And what he wants to do is, if they're not living up to these standards that they're going to set, they want to ban buybacks, ban dividends, and he wants to cap CEO pay. I guess I don't know what he means. I guess he means total summary compensation. The whole thing is just unclear. He wants to cap CEO pay at $5 million, which he says no executive should be allowed to make in excess of $5 million, which, as high as it sounds, is a mere fraction of what they're making now. So he's playing ESG, He's playing faux socialist populist. I mean, this is just craziness, right? He's fighting back against share buybacks, which we, many in the corporate governance field have loathed forever. I mean, what do you make of this latest pseudo-socialist ESG mandate? I mean, this guy.
So I know it has nothing to do. I'm not reading any philosophical principle underneath.
Oh, you can't do that. Right? With this administration.
We know that they didn't give him something he wanted, and he's being a big petty man baby. But the fact is, if it makes being the CEO of a defense contractor incredibly unattractive as a job, that's fabulous.
But then how But doesn't all the cases in Texas against BlackRock and Glass, don't you have to throw all those out immediately?
Of course you do, but this is ESG. You are acting like there's some sort of consistency here. There's no consistency.
But this is
the New York Times interview with Trump basically said it's just whatever my morality dictates is what happens, right? So we're not talking about rules anymore.
Okay,
if we're going to talk about the headline itself, great. Limit them all to 1 million. Why 5?
I mean,
give them $10.
You know
Why
what pisses
give them
me
anything?
off is that you always label me as some kind of, like a democratic socialist, and I get laughed at by most corporate governance people for suggesting that we cap CEO pay, and now the great shiny capitalist, he wants to limit CEO pay, and that's fine.
Yeah, but the king
I
says
want the credit.
If the king says it, you celebrate it. I'm going to give it a 7.
What do we think? Even the
I'm going to give it a 7 for being an excellent ESG analyst. That's what I'm going to give it. That's
what do you think this? Maybe we should try to have some people on the show. We haven't had any guests in a while, but I wonder what the more left-leaning corporate governance analysts in our world, like the Nells and Doug Cha and maybe Mick Ritchie. Where do you think they land on this one?
I mean, I think that everyone kind of shrugs because tomorrow it's going to be off anyway, right?
Do you think they would agree do you think they would prefer that this happened through shareholders, or do you think that they would be okay with a government regulated caps on things like buybacks and CEO pay?
You see, this is where you get into fantasy land, which is suggesting that this is some sort of government regulated cap and it's going to be consistent.
Well,
this is Trump picking on a few people that pissed him off about something we don't know, and basically trying to say, fine, you get no money.
This is where I find it overwhelming. It's overwhelming being run by an administration that uses misinformation to kind of set the tone and confuse people, but also is using a faux populist message while also lining the pockets of his billionaire, making the oligarchy stronger. It is just mind-numbingly confusing.
Well,
right?
I mean, the title of the executive order that he put out,
which is what
was prioritizing the war fighter in defense contracting.
The war fighter, yeah.
I mean, already.
Well, at least that part's true. That part's real, I guess.
Gaslighty, bizarre-y, what is that?
Well, this is the guy too who ran on a platform of we have to stop these silly wars.
We got to stop war. Yeah,
we got to be America first. Obama, Bush, Biden, they're all warmongering idiots. So it's not that we're I know we're not, purely journalists and in the news field here, but it is just I have it's just difficult to kind of wrangle any of this anymore. Right. I mean, cause this is one of the most full-fledged leftist ESG statements I have heard in forever. Even the lefty corporate governance analysts on our side don't go this far.
Honestly,
as much as I would love it. I would love to cap CEO pay at some multiple to worker pay. I think it is just so simple, so just. But here comes the president capping CEO pay.
I think we've talked about defense contracting companies and oil companies now. And I think if you are an investor, you have to recognize a new reality. And that is right now, because Republicans are neutered, they're utterly and totally castrated in all ways, that Trump says a thing and it becomes the policy of the day. The only outlet you have is your vote. The only remaining outlet is your vote. There's still legal, constructs around proxy voting, And so far, none of you have done anything ever about your vote. No one votes down pay. No one votes out directors. 0.2% of directors are voted out.
Here's an example. Here's a campaign for any shareholder group, right, who wants to be active in their investments or just wants to be active in American politics. Here's a perfect start to figuring out a way to cap CEO pay, right? Or to ask for living wages for the employees at Target, wherever.
Go back to the first story. Home Depot is actively using its security cameras in its parking lots to take pictures of the license plates and give them to ICE because a lot of undocumented workers show up in a Home Depot parking lot for contracting gigs, right? So Home Depot is facilitating ICE's work. Where is the vote against the board of Home Depot saying now that you doing that is not facilitating capturing undocumented immigrants or something like that. It is actually facilitating murder because when Renee Good gets shot, the guy from ICE on the video camera after he shoots her calls her a fucking bitch. She's dead, and he says, "You fucking bitch." That's the level of remorse that you are enabling. So shareholders, where the fuck are you? Grow a pair and vote. Grow up. You're playing by a set of rules that the administration isn't, the CEOs and executives and the management teams aren't. You have to do something. It's like I'm breathless at this point. This year we're going to go through proxy season and everyone's going to get voted back in. And I'm going to wonder, what is the point? Why have a vote at all? Everything's an autocracy. It's nuts.
I as you were speaking, I use AI for this. So I'm going to guess this estimate is way off, but I plugged in the 14 companies that we started the show up from Minnesota and asked them how many employees there were in total. They came up with about 2 million. That seems low to me. But here's the point. We're worried about the government reducing child care funding to states like Minnesota. There's so many employees coming from public corporations now in America. We could go right to the corporations and be like, you're going to help this. You're going to help solve this problem.
You have to solve this problem. These are your employees.
If President Trump can tell the defense companies this and that and this, and he can play ESG, we're going to play ESG too. Right?
I'm with you.
Anyway, I'm lost. This is supposed to be good, but we're getting
everything's bad. Everything is bad right now.
All right, let's go.
It's nadir kind of bad.
No,
right now.
Everything's bad. We're in the good game.
But for that one, I gave him a 7 for being a good ESG analyst. That's what I gave.
Okay, these are going to get a little quicker. U.S. oil lobby group backs repeal of climate rule for vehicles. So this is the American Petroleum Institute. So they're saying, yes, we're okay with the repeal of climate rule for vehicles, but not for power plants.
Oh, good.
So is this good? I'm thinking is it a victory in 2026 that the American Petroleum Institute is saying that they still support the EPA having authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions when it comes to stationary sources, they're calling it, which is things like, factories, right?
Yeah.
Industrial facilities.
Except that they've already made all the changes to the factories and industrial. They're not going to take the filter off of the thing now that they put it on.
They might.
But the vehicles problem is they have to change going forward for the vehicles.
Or just make electric cars.
This is basically them saying, we spent all this fucking money complying with the rules. There's no point in removing those rules.
All right, what do you get?
We have all the technology. I'm giving it a 0. These are all zeros.
Okay.
This is
0. I tried.
tried.
I thought I had some. And these are all stories since last Friday, by the way. Okay. This sounds... you're going to call this reversing stupidity, but a judge has ruled that Trump violated the Fifth Amendment by ending energy grants in only blue states.
I'm just going to give the judge the 10. Any judge who does something right for a change, I'm going to give it 10.
So I think this happened right when the government shut down. Trump got angry at blue states, and he actually said out loud, basically, I'm going to end energy grants to any state that didn't vote for me, which is pure insanity.
Insane. Yeah. Insane.
Yeah. So some of those stakeholders sued back, and a judge now is saying that they're right and Trump violated the Fifth Amendment. So, okay, you giving this what score? Are you giving this a higher score?
I'll give it a 10.
Anyone standing up to Trump. So you're still giving Darren
It's
Woods
not
a zero,
anyone
though.
standing up to Trump. It's judges now.
Judges.
Judges are the last bastion of resistance.
All right, let's go back to Norway. We talk about Norway a lot. Norway is always confusing to me because this is a country that is so rich based off its oil reserves, right? And to be fair, they treat their people well. Although there's not a lot of people. I think there's less people in Norway than I think in Massachusetts, I believe. That's close.
That's right. Yeah.
But, okay, so this is a country built on oil wealth, and yet, here's the headline. Norway pushes electric vehicles to nearly all new car sales in 2025. So 98% of new car sales in December were electric vehicles in Norway. They're saying this is because of a mix of targeted tax relief and the rising price of gas. And they're saying that this is contrasting with the wider European Union and the United States, I'll add that, where it's actually going in the other direction, right? And in fact, the EU is even rolling back on its pledge to have a 2035 ban on internal combustion engine vehicles. So the point being is that this is not just happening in the U.S. Europe is actually doing some of the crazy kind of right-wing stuff. Go ahead.
Explain why? Like
I don't.
Electric cars are awesome.
Again, like I don't get it. Like I am not a car enthusiast. I really don't love to drive. I don't really care. All I've ever driven is Subarus, but I've said it on the show before. We just bought a all electric Subaru, and we're just amazed. It's quiet. It doesn't smell. It's fast. We don't have to go to the gas station. It's beautiful. I don't understand. I don't get it.
It works.
I just don't understand why anyone would be. There's nothing political about any of this. It's just a car, people. Anyway, I don't get how Norway is getting it right.
I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6 because it is a petro state, basically, with all electric vehicles. And I don't know how to gel that.
All right, I feel like we need Emma lurking for this next one. But here's the news out of Mattel. The headline is "Meet Autistic Barbie." That's autistic, not artistic.
What does the newest Mattel Barbie look like?
The newest Mattel doll launched in line intended to celebrate diversity. Actually, I have some information about that. So here are some of the ways. So to Mattel's credit, I guess, they had a partnership with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, which is a nonprofit organization. Some of the features of the Autistic Barbie are that its eyes shift slightly to the side to represent how some people with autism avoid direct eye contact. The doll also has articulated elbows and wrists to acknowledge stimming and hand flapping and other gestures that remember, there is no one autistic person. The spectrum is so wide these days that it's hard to identify a single autistic person. And they ended up dressing the doll in an A-line dress with short sleeves and a flowy skirt that provides less fabric to skin contact, because they're saying that a lot of autistic people have sensitivity to certain fabrics. And the doll also wears flat shoes to promote stability and ease of movement, according to Mattel. And each doll comes, I'm not laughing. I don't know. I don't know what I'm laughing at. It comes with a fidget spinner, noise-canceling headphones, and a pink tablet modeled after the devices some autistic people use. Now, I don't know what to say about any of this. First of all, does a child recognize some of the things that I don't even know that a child would understand that these things represent autism. But I don't know. Where do you land on all this? And this is not the first thing that Mattel has done. Recently, I think last year we talked about how they had a doll with Down syndrome, right?
Sure. Oh, look. I'll say this: I am not the target demo, and I don't care what they make to sell to who.
I wouldn't buy a Mattel doll anyway. But
I wouldn't buy a doll. Period. And
I like stuffed animals.
But if
Paddington.
If a child has a condition of any kind, or looks away, is away, whatever. Well, they want a doll that represents them.
Where's Kid Rock and Robbie Starbuck? I mean, this seem like too much? Is that they should be...
Mattel is in the business of selling dolls to you.
But
I don't
someone
like the
be angry at
business of selling
this?
dolls.
Shouldn't somebody be angry at this?
Someone will be, but I don't care about this at all.
How do you get
until
angry at
someone
this?
else, like that's the thing.
How do
I
you
don't
get
care
angry
about
at
this
this? They
until
got
someone
angry-
gets angry. When
They
somebody
got
else
angry
gets
at
angry,
trans.
then I can be angry at them.
They got angry at a sign at Cracker Barrel. How do you get angry at this if you're Robbie Starbuck? Is this like DEI? What is
Because you're
this?
grooming children to be autistic. I don't know. Isn't that like the thing? I'm going to give it a 5. Like it isn't about me. I don't think it's like fabulous. I think nothing about it. I just think like good. Some cohort can buy a thing that they don't need and play with it if it makes them feel better. It's not about me, right? Like it's about somebody else. And if it's done well, what do I know? I don't care. Good. If my kid asked for one for Christmas, yeah, fine. I don't care.
Elon Musk's X under UK investigation over Grok sexualized AI images. British regulators are starting a formal investigation into the chatbot over the spread of illegal images depicting nude children and women and whatever else goes on.
Didn't Musk come out and say after that, like Grok was criticized that the EU shouldn't exist, it should be abolished?
Yes,
and
but this is not the EU. This is UK regulators.
Oh, now the UK should be abolished.
All right, what do you give? What do you give this one?
Isn't literally what they're supposed to do? Like this is something
that's true.
Like actually regulated.
But they're not doing this in America, right?
Despite like the fact that
we live in such a pseudo heavy Christian world now, right? We're even like NFL players are preaching how women should be staying home and working. And where are the U.S. regulators on this one? This is pretty heinous.
A core piece of the MAGA movement was about like Epstein and child, trafficking and Pizzagate. Remember Pizzagate?
Yes, of course.
That was all like QAnon conspiracies around child porn and child trafficking.
We don't hear anything about QAnon anymore. Yeah.
Now, literally, Grok allows you to make child porn.
Yeah.
And because it's Elon Musk, there's no one in this country saying anything about it. Like I don't hear about it anywhere. Like
are there still
Laura
U.S.
Loomer,
regulators, or did Doge fire them all? I don't even know actually.
All I know is that like what's like the Fox News talking heads are out there talking about how Renee Good was a left-wing socialist, provocateur, but no one's talking about the fact that Grok, by saying, can you take the clothes off of this little child, will take the clothes off the little child. So like, no, I don't, where's that story?
Not to mention that, speaking of Fox News, Pete Hegseth, who comes from Fox News, he's the defense secretary in the United States, announcing in the last few days that they're using Grok's AI. They're going to use it in the defense department.
Probably to take the clothes off of other people in the department.
Well, as he's trying now to drum up, he's doing his own ESG analysis to come up with a study that is going to restrict women being in combat, right? He's trying to take women out of combat.
Now they're talking about actual war crimes because they're hiding the planes that they're using to blow up the Venezuelan boats. They're making them look like passenger planes, like commercial airlines, which is a war crime. It's a black and white war crime. That's not like one of those like, oh well, is it a war crime? Is it not? They're doing that like
I gotta tell you
now.
What's confusing to me is that Trump is railing against defense contractors for not being A+ at their job, right? And yet, I've never seen a single report. There've been a lot of studies about which is the best AI at this point. A lot currently leaning in the Gemini camp. Alphabet's market cap is now over $4 trillion. They've just partnered with Apple, of all things. If Apple couldn't figure out AI for its stupid phones, and now they're going to have Gemini do it, and yet we're okay with the government contracting with Elon Musk's company. Is there proof that Elon Musk company is better at something? And to your point, in this world where we're kind of pushing this Christian morality on all of us, Pete Hegseth being, he's one of the people doing this. We're contracting with a man who is putting out sexualized images of children. So I don't know what to say. Where's Trump to say we should restrict the pay going to Elon Musk, right? I mean, because it's not okay. It's not okay what Grok
apparently
is doing.
An extra trillion didn't pass the threshold.
Right.
It was just the defense contractors RTX's CEO made $18 million last year in summary pay, and he's saying like, nah, it should be $5. Elon Musk just got a pay package worth an extra $1 trillion. And there's nothing. I'm giving this a 5. Look, the British regulators are doing what they're supposed to do.
All right, so let's move on then. What about Malaysia and Indonesia? They are blocking Musk's Grok over sexually explicit deepfakes. So they're just blocking it completely.
That actually seems better. Because while you're announcing some investigation, I don't know what that even means. But Malaysia's population is 34 million, which is actually 7 times the population of Norway, and they just said you can't get Grok. So I like that better. I'm going to give that an 8.
Okay. Well, if it makes you feel even better, Indonesia's population is 280 million, which is basically the size of the United States. It's close.
Indonesia cannot have that many people.
Well, according to what I am looking at, you can look at it while I move on. Speaking of removing accounts,
they do.
I don't know how you could hate this one. Meta, we got to have a standing ovation for Australia. Meta removes nearly 550,000 social media accounts under Australian age ban. How about that?
They were supposed to.
Okay, but
Australia,
come on, it's something, right?
The clapping is for Australia.
Yes.
Who put up an age ban and then said, Meta, take it down. And then Meta had to.
Even 5,000 I'd be happy with, but 550,000 is a great start. I mean, let's look at Australia world. Let's look at them. What do you think?
Can you imagine though? Because that means that there were 500,000 people who shouldn't have been on there anyway. Because it actually didn't they have age limits in their policy?
I ordered this. I got this new e-reader the other day, right? And I'm signing up. I'm starting my account on this e-reader, and it asks me. I think it was like Alphabet that asked me because I think they run the operating software. It says, "Are you over 18?" Because basically you're not allowed to use this if you're not. And here's what it said. It said yes or no. That was it. I hit yes, and that's it. That was it. So
I want you to restart it and hit no and see what it says.
How do these companies get away with this though? I mean, how is it possible? What are you giving this score?
I'm going to give it a 7, and I'm going to give it because I like Australia, but the headline is Meta removes it, and it's like Meta should not be celebrated for doing what it absolutely has to do to comply with the law.
All right, moving on. This new speaking of ESG, this is DEI crash dummy. This new crash test dummy could keep women safer in car accidents. So this is the first. I don't know how this is happening in the United States, but this is regulators unveiled. Of course, they call it Thor. I mean, that seems like it's sad for but it's called Thor 05F, short for Test Device for Human Occupant Restraint, 5th percentile female. The first crash test dummy specifically based on a woman's body. And they're saying that women have faced a higher risk of death in auto accidents, partly based on the fact that there has never, think about this. I mean, we're talking about there are no CEOs in corporate America. There's never been a crash test dummy specifically based on a woman's body. Think about that. It's mind-blowing. I mean, but anyway, what do you think about this? This is like DEI crash test dummy.
I love it till the minute that's like some Trump, like Stephen Miller makes an announcement that it's illegal because it discriminates against men.
White men. Not men, white men.
White
right?
men. Yeah. Like, why is there not a 5th percentile white male version of the crash test dummy? I can't wait for that lawsuit out of Stephen Miller's, like a law foundation. But otherwise, for now, it's great. And it seems like one of those things that started probably 20 years ago when
because
America was reasonable and they finally they finally unleashed it. I'll give it a 9.
I got in this horrible rabbit hole this morning while I was looking at the company's press releases about whether they were talking about ICE in Minnesota, about J.D. Vance supporting this article about how like white men are suffering in America. And it was like a Robbie Starbuck kind of dude who he scalps tickets in L.A. His name is James Savage. Like, this is his background. He's he's railing against the fact that like you can't find there are no white writers anymore. There's no white men writers anymore. And
I've never seen
J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, is citing this guy's I'm just like,
No,
how
I
did we get
pretend to
here?
be shocked, but that
How did we
actually
get-
seems like
You should be
four-
shocked, though. We should stay shocked somehow.
5
Honestly, I
years
don't want to
ago-
be. I don't want to get complacent with this shit. I don't.
No,
I
but
don't want to get complacent.
This is how they flood the zone. 5 years ago, that we would have been railing on that for days, but now
I wanna stay shocked.
Fish we
I
have
wanna
to
stay
fry are
shocked.
so large that it's near impossible to deal with.
yeah. Let's
I
keep
gave
going.
that a 9.
Here's a weird one. Which side are you on this one? And I don't know if it matters anymore because the race for AI is just all over the world now. But Elon Musk's lawsuit accusing ChatGPT maker OpenAI of betraying its nonprofit mission can go to trial. Judge rules. Now,
I love that.
Let's not forget that this is one of the reasons why they tried to the board. They tried to fire Sam Altman. They did fire Sam Altman actually. But then somehow, you go ahead.
You're looking at the content of this, which I also love.
Sure.
But it's a judge that ruled it.
Okay.
And I am now in judges get
Okay.
10s. Like,
All right, you giving it a 10?
I'm giving it a 10. Judge doing right thing gets a 10.
Only two more for the good game of January 13th, 2026. We got to think of something good to say about our current state of America. Trump calls for 1 year. This is back to the faux economic populism. Calls for 1 year, 10% cap on credit card interest rates. Now, the reason why I included this is because here's the first person who hates it is Bill Ackman calling it a huge mistake. So maybe it's good if Bill Ackman hates it, right?
Bill Ackman, does anybody ask your opinion about anything?
Yeah.
Is there anybody anywhere like, what does Bill Ackman think about this?
Especially when it comes to protecting like
This
the wealth of the average American family. Do we want Bill Ackman's perspective on people living
I don't
paycheck to
care.
paycheck?
I literally, unless it's about an investment that Bill Ackman made, I don't want Bill Ackman's opinion about anything. I don't
No. If he wants to go back to college, like if he wants to like re-enroll like Hampshire or something and have a say in the administration there, I'll listen. But if he's not currently a student at Harvard, shut up forever.
I literally
shut up.
do not want. This is a problem with this is the billionaire problem. It's like you have money and you think everyone should
Keep
then
talking.
listen to you. I don't
Keep
want
spouting.
to hear what any of you think about anything.
No.
I don't want your opinions. I don't. I just shut it down. But in terms of the 1 year 10% cap on credit card interest rates, I mean, I conceptually fine, I guess. Isn't that anti-capitalist? I guess, but I have a really hard time
absolutely anti-capitalist
parsing this thing because he demolished the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which was the place where they held credit card companies accountable for fraud and overcharging.
Right.
And then he comes in and says, I'm going to put a cap on it, which means he gets something out of it. And it's political capital because no one can afford
midterm
their
election
debt.
Political capital. Yeah.
It's an easy zero from that standpoint, but giving the average person the ability to pay down their credit card is absolutely something that should happen. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4.
You know, I was thinking about
I hate it, and I have to.
Is it Klarna? Klarna is the pay pay later.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just go to a Klarna system? Why don't we have? Because I think the way Klarna works is that. Correct me if I'm
it's
wrong.
Layaway. No, it's layaway.
But there's no interest on this stuff, right?
Of course, there's interest.
Oh, there's interest. So okay,
there's more interest. Than
is it
on credit
because
cards.
I have good credit that I'm constantly getting these offers from big companies saying like you can pay this over 3 years with no interest rate? Is it because I'm already a good customer?
It's usually a starter thing. Sometimes if you've got good credit, but that.
How about we just let people buy stuff and pay it back without any interest?
How about you get rid of the tariffs and the prices of things get cheaper and then you can afford them? Or how about we live in a country
pay a living wage? How about that?
Where we basically say people need to have enough money to buy basic goods and not put it on credit cards.
All right, let's end the good
Thank
game.
God. It's the worst good game ever.
No, I don't. Come on. Let's see. Is it? Do you think it's the word? I'm trying to think if. I'm peeking at your score to see if it's as bad as you think it is.
I'm pretty sure it's there are a lot of zeros up front.
It's a little less than usual. All right, I'm ending with a super nerdy one that no one cares about except for maybe shareholder primacy, one of the other shows in our network. activist investors set record number of campaigns in 2025. So we've long said that this is the one area. These are the one successful area of investors who've somehow managed to capture the imagination of shareholders and maybe stakeholders. And there's actually some dissent when an activist gets involved. There's actually some investor dissent. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't. Usually
they actually do due diligence.
Okay,
they don't do it otherwise.
That's true, but people don't usually like corporate raiders. They don't like people who come in.
They're not corporate raiders anymore. Now it's like so. I have you ever read the book Dear Chairman, which is the sort of history of activism?
No.
Going back to Benjamin Graham, it's a great book. In fact, the author was on Shareholder Primacy sometime middle of last year, which is where I heard of it, and then bought the book and read it, and it's super good. It goes through these periods of the early shareholder activists were about value investors, basically unlocking value. Then there was the corporate raider period. Then there was the big dick money period. And, there's the leverage buyouts, and then the corporate raiders.
So what is this period?
And this period actually seems to be the governance activists. These are people who are like this. Every single activist,
Nelson Peltz included, including Nelson Peltz with this.
But every single activist, presentation deck, just
it's all
talks
governance.
Deeply about governance. Talks about how these people
what else
are
can you talk about?
They're talking about how they're unqualified.
What else can you talk about?
They'll talk about the underperforming stock of the company, but mostly what they're saying is things like this board underperforms, this structure of the board is wrong, this person
or you're the wrong
unskilled,
people,
they're the wrong people
in place.
They don't have the right skills. They're interconnected. They're all it's like governance activists. While I want to like this, it basically signals that after 30 years of Nell and Bob Monk's and the sort of corporate governance revolution in the 90s and early aughts and the post-Enron years, investors, mostly regular investors, pension funds, and all the bigs, the index funds, they have totally given up on actual governance unless somebody reminds them that it's their job. And that's what activists do.
Yeah,
it makes me depressed.
We need a new wave of younger. We need Gen Z and millennials to recognize that this is an area to care about. They need to kind of carry the torch here, right? I mean, Bob's
if I
no
can
longer
get the
even
code
with
right
us.
at Free Float, maybe we can help them do that. But
I would love to help them. But give me a score on this last one.
I'm
activist investors.
I'm going to give it a 4.
All right. Well, the tone has been set. This happened in December. It's now the same score in January 2026. You famously, I think they covered this in Axios, they covered this in Fortune, famously, you hit a 6 on every good game for months, right? Mm-hmm. You fell to a 5.3 in December, and you remain exactly at a 5.3 for January 2026. So you are. This is telling. I think this data is telling.
I know. I'm in a dark place.
Yes, you are. Although the news headlines they're not so easy to grapple with either.
They're not cheerful. That's all we got. That's Hazelnut Rallis. That's so much too. It's Hazelnut Rallis. I'm your analyst, Matt Muscardi. We are Free Float. Are we doing a proxy countdown this week? I think we're supposed to on Thursday.
We're court mandated, or is this mandated by the Trump administration?
I think the Trump administration said they'll withhold free float buybacks unless we do it. We got a Friday show coming up. Shareholder Primacy drops tomorrow. So get that. Until later, goodbye.